Hi there! Ice dyeing is a technique using fiber reactive dyes on natural fibers to create a mottled dye effect. It's kind of like tie-dye, but using ice and a random scattering of dye powder to create the pattern on the fabric. So today I will be dyeing some IKEA curtains, and to do that you'll want to start out by washing your curtains. These are damp still, I just pulled them out of the wash, and that will remove any sizing from the surface of the fabric and any oils from your hands. The oils on your hands are good for your hands but not good for the fiber in the dyeing process. So be sure to pre-wash with a little bit of detergent to wash away any of the grime on your curtains, and then don't dry them. You want them to be damp when you're doing the ice dyeing. So the tools and materials you will need here are a bin, and this will be what you set your material over so that it can drip into the bin. And I have this window screen that I randomly had around my house. I'm going to use to set the material on over this, so it'll be set up like this and the material will set here to drain through. You can use a colander or the insert of a salad spinner. Whatever you end up using though, use it only for dyeing because the dyes are chemicals and you don't want to be going from dyeing to using them for food. Okay, next you're going to want some soda ash dye fixer, and this is a powdered substance that you will soak your material in so that it more effectively absorbs the dye colors. And I also have this bin here just for side use if I need it. And I have here a couple of fiber reactive dyes. I got these from Dharma Trading Company online. You can get fiber reactive dyes from the craft store or other places online. I have a golden brown, a green, a maroon, and a burgundy that I'm going to experiment with today. For safety, you'll want a pair of gloves and a dust mask for working with the soda ash and the dye powders. A measuring cup, I have a 1 cup measuring cup and a tablespoon and a teaspoon here. Also, you'll want a big tub of water to soak the curtains in the soda ash, so fill a big tub. I have a Rubbermaid tub full of water that I'll be putting the soda ash in and soaking the curtains in. Okay, I'm gonna put on my dust mask and I'm going to be putting in 2 cups of the soda ash into this bin of water. Sorry, I take that back. I'll be putting 4 cups in here. You want about 2 cups per gallon of soda ash. I have a little over 2 gallons here, but so that's 2, 3, and 4. You want to stir the soda ash into the water until the soda ash has dissolved and you can't see it at the bottom anymore. Okay, and then once that's stirred, grab one of your linen curtains and unfold it and stick it into the soda ash mixture and press it in and kind of stir it around a bit. And then you can put your other one in as well. We unfold it so that you can get into all the nooks and crannies of the fabric as you put it in. We're trying to have the surface of the fabric absorb some of the soda ash. The soda ash will help the dye to stick to the fabric. Okay, so let this sit in the water for 15 minutes, stirring every 3 to 5 minutes to rotate it around in the water, and then we'll pull it out and come back to do the dyeing process. If you find this video helpful, hit the like button because it'll help it spread to other fiber artists. Subscribe to my channel to see more ice dyeing, natural dyeing, basket weaving, and other fiber art videos. Okay, we're gonna take these out of the soda ash mixture. Just lift them out and wring them out a bit so that they're not dripping water everywhere. And this is where it's good to have a secondary water tub nearby that you can lift them into. So I can put them in here until I'm ready to dye them. Now you're going to lay your wet soda ash soaked curtains onto the whatever kind of tray or screen that you have over your bin, and this will determine how the finished product looks. So I want to do a curtain where the top is the linen, the natural linen color, and it kind of fades down into the color, or the color comes up, I guess. So I'm going to orient my curtain so that the top here, where the loops are, is lifted away from where I will be dyeing, and I'll lay it on here like so. And then the end, this is what I want to dye. I'm going to crumple it up to kind of allow it to be variegated so that the different layers bunch up together. It's kind of like tie dyeing, where you roll or tie or in some way bundle it so that it's a specific shape or way so that the dye sinks in different layers and causes all of those cool patterns. But this one I'm just gonna do randomly. I'm gonna scrunch it up here over my bin where I'm going to put the dye, like so. And then I'll put the second one right next to it. Again, orienting it with the top. Away from the bin, and then scrunching up the bottom here. Okay, now that your curtains are all piled onto your screen, you're ready to add the ice on top. Okay, to add the ice on top here, I have a bag of ice from the store. I'm going to lift a bunch of this ice out and onto the top of the curtains. And I'm just kind of tucking them into the crevices over top here. And this, you might need to work quickly because the ice will start to melt, depending on how warm your room is. You want to cover as much as possible with ice so that the dye falls through the fabric as much as possible. Okay, and then once you have enough ice on your piece, I'm dropping a bunch on the floor. If you're working with smaller pieces or have a bigger area to work in, it is helpful to work in something that has sides so that the ice can fit on top of the fabric and get to all the edges without falling off. Okay, now it's time for the dye, and this is the exciting fun part because you get to start to see the colors. So put on your dust mask and go ahead and grab your dyes. And I'm gonna start with the color that I want the least of, just to sprinkle on a little bit. And I think that's the golden brown. I just wanna do a little bit of that color. So I'll open this up, and this is what it looks like. Just kind of a powder here. And then use one of your teaspoons or tablespoons and come in and sprinkle a little bit of this dye here and there over the ice. You will have different colors, but I suggest thinking about the colors that you're using, because the dyes, as we're doing this process, they will start to mix, and if you have certain colors, you might end up mixing a color you don't want. So for instance, if you have a green and a red, the outcome ends up being brown, or the mix of that becomes brown, and that might not be what you're going for. So just be aware as you're working that different colors mix differently. So I do have a bit of green and some burgundy and maroon, and so I'm just gonna position them so that they don't touch as much, or if they do touch, it's a little bit of browns here and there. The cool thing about ice dyeing is that you end up with, now I can't remember if I use burgundy or maroon. Well, we'll find out. The cool thing about ice dyeing is that there'll never be the same print of fabric ever again. Okay, so there's the colors, the dyes all on the ice, and now you'll let this sit until the ice has completely melted through the fabric, and we'll rinse it out once that happens and see the outcome. Here we are with the curtains. The ice is completely melted, and I'm gonna put on some rubber gloves to open these up. We have some nice dark spots, probably from the Muir green, and then a lot of bright pinks from the maroon and the burgundy, and a couple areas where it's more saturated, and a bit of orange where the dyes split. So because we're using chemical dyes and the fiber reactive dyes, a dye is made up of particles of lots of different colors to create the overall color. And so when we do a technique like this, where we're sprinkling the dye onto the fabric, sometimes as it's sinking into the fabric, as the ice is melting, the fabric will pick up some of those unique colors in the color mix rather than the overall color that it says it is on the bottle. So that's where we get some of these oranges and a little bit of the yellow here, like that spot there, and some peaches. That's from that color splitting. Okay, I'm gonna take one off over here. Open it up. Okay. So there's some of the print. It's fun to see the variety of pattern that the ice dye makes, because you end up with something that almost looks florally, like in here. It almost looks like petals in this area. And then there are areas where the depth of color was so deep that there's kind of a kaleidoscope effect in the print. So this orange here is either from the golden brown, where this kind of brown color, and it was more of the orange pigment in that brown dye, or it could have been some of the particles of the maroon or burgundy. So you can see the variety of prints on the surface of the fabric. And because of the way I crumpled it into the bin, we have kind of a striped effect where the fabric or the print, the dye print, is in rows because we crumpled it into a long row. I'll open up this guy here. You can see that yellow showing up more there. Okay, so I'll throw these in the wash and then show you the finished results after a wash cycle and a dry cycle. Make sure to dry them on a high heat because the heat will help set the dyes into the fabric, and wash them on cool. Okay, the curtains came out of the wash, a cold cycle and then a dry cycle, cold water cycle. And they turned out really cool. This is very kaleidoscopy or florally because of the pinks. It looks like petals. So you can see the modeled. So we did the top trying to keep them plain, and then it went down and bled into the bottom. So I'll show them like this. And you can see some of the pattern throughout. Because of the way we laid it, we have these scallops on both sides here, and lots of different color variation throughout with the little bits of green that we included, and the orange came out from the brown. So we have some nice interest, pops of different color, just as added contrast. And I'll show a picture of these hanging up here so that you can see a fuller perspective. And I'll show you this one. This one we got some deeper, probably the burgundy came out in here, some deeper color. And you can see this shape here is like the kaleidoscope, mirror on mirrors. Look, it's a very distinctive effect that the ice dyeing creates, this kind of orchid looking shape throughout the fabric. Lots of fun color. So these will be great on a window, adding a pop of color and something unique. And there's never going to be another pair of curtains just like this. It's unique to your work. Thanks so much for watching how to ice dye IKEA curtains. I hope you are able to try this on your own set of curtains. It doesn't have to be IKEA curtains, but it does have to be a natural fiber like cotton or hemp or silk. Probably wool would work, and linen as well, like these ones. Yeah, so check the links in the description below for all the tools and materials and resources for all of those things. And be sure to sign up for my email update list. You can find the link in the description below for that. And subscribe to this channel to help support me creating new and more videos. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.